the essence of the eternal divine spirit, the one that causes all that exists to exist, the one that is self-existent.
How many men have children and the children never meet their father? See, you created a void in that child because you are a part of that child.
Black power! Black power!
Black power!
Black power!
Black power!
Are you feeling fatigued and can barely make it through the day without some type of caffeine?
Are you on a journey of healing your body but need a little help?
Then alkaline water is what you really need.
Alkaline water has many benefits. Alkaline water can help restore pH balance in the body. Consuming beverages such as soda and coffee can make your body acidic.
Did you know that too much acid in your body has been linked to an internet, heart disease, obesity, diabetes, autoimmune disease, chronic pain, and other chronic conditions like gout and arthritis?
Those who use alkaline water have reported increased energy levels, clearer skin, reduction in inflammation, better digestion, and many other health benefits. I've used alkaline water for years, and it's been instrumental in sustaining my health when I was diagnosed with sarcoidosis.
Are you ready to take responsibility for your body's health?
If the answer is yes, then our alkaline water is just what you need. Bring your own bottles. It's only $3 for each gallon. To place an order or for more information, you can reach us at 773-846-3091. Thank you in advance for your support.
Hi, my name is Sister Ebony Stevenson. I am your announcer for today. Welcome to the Toma Nation's weekly Sunday worship service from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. every Sunday at 616 East 71st Street here in Chicago, Illinois, and also live on Facebook. If you would like more information, you can reach us at www.facebook.com/TomaNation2 or give us a call at 773-952-8302. Now I'm going to recite our opening. In the name of the eternal divine spirit, the one that causes all that exists to exist, the one that is self-existent, the one who directs the sunships of millions and trillions of years, and the one who made time the seed of the universe, known among the ancient Kemites or Egyptians as Amun-Ra and Aten, among the Hebrews as Ansar, Yahweh, and Elohim, among the Christians as Lord, God, and Jehovah, among the Muslims and Islamic world as Allah, the one God, among the Rastafarians as Jah Rastafari, among the Yoruba tribes of West Africa as Odumare, Eshu, and many other Orisha names. I bear witness that all these names refer to the same one, Almighty Spirit, and it is to that essence which I give reverence and to whom I submit. I boldly proclaim that we, the descendants of those black men and women who survived the transatlantic slave trade, are the Lost 13 tribe, born in North America and are of a Nubian Kemetic lineage. I further proclaim that the blood of all the nations of the earth flows through our veins. I greet you in the ancient but holy words of peace, Hotep, Shalom, Assalamu alaikum, Habaragani, Alafia, and Ashe. Now I am going to recite the 13 points of what we believe and know. Number 1. We believe and know that we are not to repeat the mistakes of the past prophets and messengers of the Almighty Creator of the heavens and earth. Number 2. We believe and know that we can only establish an economic base through the application of the knowledge of self and the incorporation of the ideologies of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Mahatma Gandhi, and Ben Ami. Number 3. We believe and know that the prophets and messengers of the Holy Bible, the Holy Quran, and the Kemetic Holy Books were all black. Number 4, we believe and know that Jesus Christ of 2,000 years was and is a black man. Number 5, we believe and know that the knowledge of the Almighty Creator goes beyond books written by the prophets and messengers of the Almighty Creator. Number 6, we believe and know that in order to promote and coordinate unity, we must first recognize and accept the uniqueness of being able to worship our Creator, regardless of religious denomination, name, title, ritual, particular dress, or holy book, as long as it recognizes the Almighty Creator of the heavens, earth, and the universe as supreme. Number 7, we believe and know that it is impossible to tell the truth without exposing the wicked governments of the world. Number 8, we believe and know that the United States government, in collaboration with other European nations, have a denial objective to exterminate dark-skinned people of color off the earth through the act of genocide. Number 9, we believe and know that some of the most effective methods that are being used today are AIDS, birth control, alcohol and drug abuse, vaccinations, gang and domestic violence, systematic elimination of trauma centers, the public school system, and public aid within the black communities of America and the world. Number 10, we believe and know that the last trick that Satan is playing on us is the dividing of us by our religious differences, religious gangbanging. Number 11, we believe and know that the conflict between the various religions are comparable to the conflict between various street gangs within the inner cities of America. Number 12, we believe and know that the war on drugs and gangs is a diabolical plot to disarm the black community of weapons, break up the black family, withdraw our constitutional rights, also kill and incarcerate young black males under the undercover code name Able 2029. And number 13, we believe and know that every letter, shape, sound, and numerical value contains esoteric information that completely transcends the specific contextual meaning of the word. Our purpose: to bring about the growth of a righteous community in accordance with the laws of the Creator of the universe, under the leadership and guidance of Brother Minister Raheem Cossette Oxen, to provide solutions to the social and economic ills that plague the communities of urban America. Our goal: to re-educate and retrain youth and young adults to develop positive moral values as an alternative to delinquent behaviors, because you can't rebuild a community and not rebuild the minds of the residents of the community to meet the responsibilities of maintaining the community's image. Our mission: to enhance the economic development of our communities by establishing businesses, real and personal properties, thereby creating jobs and/or entrepreneurship training programs that will reverse the concept of leaving the community to buying back the community. Our motto: let your light so shine before men that they shall see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Matthew 5:16. Now we're going to recite our salute to the red, black, and green flag. Everyone put your right fist in the air and repeat after me. Here's to this flag of mine, the red, black, and green. Hopes in its future bright, Africa has seen. Here's to the red of it, great nations shall know of it. In time to come, red blood shall flow of it. Historians shall write of it, this flag of mine. Here's to the black of it, 400 million's back of it, whose destiny depends on it. The red, black, and green of it, oh flag of mine. Here's to the green of it, young men and women shall dream of it, face shots and shells for it, maidens shall sing of it, waving so high. Here's to the whole of it, colors bright and pole of it, pleased is my soul with it, regardless of what is told of it. Thanks to God for giving it, this great flag of mine. Please keep your right fist raised high in the air as we sing our Black National Anthem. Black power, black power, black power. Black power is the power to define, develop, and defend that which is in the best interest of Black.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. I am your lecturer for today, Sister Ebony Stevenson. Thank you so much for joining us for our weekly Sunday worship service here at the Tillman Nation, aka the Temple of Mercy Association. Thank you so much for joining us this Sunday, September 7th, 2025. We are no longer at 616 East 71st Street. So if you would like more information about this lecture, any of our previous lectures, or any of our upcoming events, do feel free to call or shoot us a text at 773-846-3091. The title of my lecture today is about Black entrepreneurship, and we're coming out of National Black Business Month, which ended last week, August 31st. And so as we are, transitioning into September, the title of my lecture today is Black Entrepreneurship Over Violence. I am going to begin by reciting our opening. Excuse me. In the name of the everlasting Father, he that causes all that exists to exist, he that is self-existent, he who directs the sonships of millions and trillions of years, and he who made time the seed of the universe, known among the ancient Kemites or Egyptians as Amun-Ra and Aten, among the Hebrews as Ansav, Yahweh, and Elohim, among the Christians as Lord, God, and Jehovah, among the Muslims and Islamic world as Allah, the one God, among the Rastafarians as Jah Rastafari, among the Yoruba tribes of West Africa as Eshu, Olodumare, and many other Orisha names. I bear witness that all of these names refer to the same one, Almighty God, and it is to him whom I give reverence and to whom I submit. I boldly proclaim that we, the descendants of those Black men and women who survived the transatlantic slave trade, are the Lost 13 tribe, born here in North America, and are of a Nubian Kemetic lineage. I further proclaim that the blood of all the nations of the earth flow through our veins. I greet you in the ancient yet holy words of peace, Hotep, Shalom, Assalamu alaikum, Habaragani, Alafia, and Ashe. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. So, as we begin to approach this topic about Black entrepreneurship, we have got to look at what is truly going on the world scene and in our local communities. When we look at the states of all of our neighborhoods on the south and west sides of Chicago, in the inner cities of America, a lot of times our neighborhoods are painted with strokes of despair. Every time we watch the news, if you still watch the news, or for the others of us who watch stuff like the Shot Spotter and like all the Facebook crime chasers and all that other stuff, our communities have been reduced to crime reports and mugshots. We can look at across the nation as people are speaking about us as problems to be solved rather than people to be empowered. And so, too often, the only images that the world see of Black youth are tied to violence, poverty, or failure, and even crime. And yet, we know this is not the full story. When we look at us being 13 Tribe, being Black Americans here in America, we are a people with resilience that was built in the chain of our DNA. We always hear about we are the descendants of kings and queens and builders and innovators, but we're more than that. We're more than that. We are the descendants of a divine promise. We are the heirs of that promise that says we were made to be fruitful, to multiply, to have dominion over this earth and not just survive. And somewhere along the way, our enemies designed systems that were made to strip us of that identity. Redlining choked our neighborhoods of resources. Predatory loans targeted our families. Schools in our communities are underfunded and being closed. They did away with public housing. They're doing away with Section 8. Jobs are drying up. They're closing factories. I think that was last month when they said like it was hundreds of jobs lost in the Chicago area. And we have to look at when they're having drugs and guns flooding our streets. These are all by design. And so it's no secret or it's no surprise that many of our children, many Black youth, are inheriting despair as their birthright instead of hope. I remember before when, the Simple of Mercy Association, aka the Toma Nation, has been around since before 1991 and has been working with youth and working boots on the ground in the community. And when you look at some of these interviews, even then, even now, of youth and asking them, what do they want to do in the future? How many of those youth in those interviews don't even believe that they have a future? So they're not planning to even live past the age of 18, right? Like that's real. That's something that's real in our communities, and it's something that we can't ignore, that we have to face it. Because, like I said, they are inheriting despair as a birthright instead of hope. So we have to look at, as we know, we are God's vicegerents here on earth. We are God's stewards here on this planet. And we know that the Creator did not create us to perish in hopelessness. The Creator didn't create us to shrink under the weight of oppression. He called us to rise, to take dominion, to be stewards, to be vicegerents on this earth. And today, we're standing at a crossroads as we are living through Revelation and as we are experiencing what's going on with America and the world scene, as we are experiencing all the things they're talking about doing to Chicago. Either we're going to continue down a path whether violence dictates the future of our children, or we're going to pivot and boldly proclaim a new reality where entrepreneurship, vision, and ownership becomes weapons against despair. This is why this message today, this lecture, this teaching isn't just about theory. It's not. It's about an urgent call to action. You know, we've had so many urgent calls to action about so many things in our community. But now we're at this crossroads that if we don't stand up and make a change, then we're dooming our children, our children's children, their children, and all our future generations to a future of despair instead of hope. And so when we talk about entrepreneurship, I want to make it clear. Entrepreneurship and Black entrepreneurship is not simply about money. You know, we get there's so many views out here about like, well, oh, like money is good, money is bad, or money is the root of all evil. None of that is true. Money is a tool to be used. Just like when you're building a house, you use a hammer. Is the hammer good or bad? Is the nail gun good or bad? No. It's a tool to be used. And so when we talk about entrepreneurship, we're also talking about dignity, right? We're also talking about discipline and direction, because entrepreneurship gives you dignity, the power to control your life, the power to not depend on other people to feed you, to house you, to clothe you, and to feed and house and clothe your children and your parents. Entrepreneurship also teaches discipline. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to have discipline. You have to critically think. You have to think outside the box in order to be a successful entrepreneur. And so these are all skills. These are all things we need when we're talking about rebuilding our community, when we're talking about building a nation within a nation. And this, when we talk about Black entrepreneurship and youth, this is about showing our youth that they're not liabilities, they're assets. They're not victims, but visionaries. When a young man learns that he can turn his idea into income and his idea into legal income, he no longer has to risk his life for a quick hustle. When a young woman learns that her creativity can generate wealth, she no longer has to believe that she is powerless in the face of poverty. And when families come together to build businesses, they create shields of stability that no gang, no clique, no system, and no weapon formed against them can penetrate. So, Black family, this is not just economics. This is not just entrepreneurship. It is spiritual warfare. And so we're going to dig into why. So, you know, when we talk about this issue of violence in Chicago, before we can prescribe the medicine, we got to tell the truth about the sickness. We must stare reality in the face, not to glorify the pain, but to measure and strategize about the size of the mountain we are called to move. Now, Chicago is a city of brilliance and beauty that we built off the backs of Black people. And we have to look at it also includes bloodshed. In 2024, there were 581 homicides and more than 2,000 non-fatal shootings. Now, that number may have been the lowest in 5 years, but don't let that number fool you. 581 lives lost still means 581 mothers crying, 581 families broken, 581 futures stolen. The statistics may say decline, the mayor may say decline, the governor may say decline, but funerals are still being held and trauma is still being planted into the soil of our neighborhoods, into the soil of our communities. Even more troubling is that violence is not evenly spread. In some neighborhoods, our youth are walking to school through corridors of danger, hearing gunshots like background noise because we've grown so accustomed to it. They've grown so accustomed to it. These are communities where a child may know more friends who've lost their lives to gun violence than to graduation caps. That means that they know more friends who've lost their lives to gun violence than who are graduating. This is absolutely unacceptable. It's been unacceptable. But when are we as people going to stop making excuses and start taking ownership of what's going on and start strategizing about how we can change and make life better for our families and for our children and for their future? And even talking about violence, let's look at domestic violence and family trauma. We know that there are a lot of gun violence is being committed due to domestic violence. And when the streets cry out from gun violence, so do the homes. And here in the state, domestic violence calls have surged since the pandemic. And when we look at the stats from 2023, at least 120 lives were lost due to domestic violence across the state. Shelters across Chicago reported being at capacity for over 130 days straight. That means that when we have so many people going through issues, because we know we're on the economic bottom, we know we're the highest group to face homelessness, we know that we're the highest group to face evictions, we know that we're the highest group to lose our properties due to property taxes, right? That our properties are being stolen every year. That means that when the shelters are at capacity, they are forced to turn away mothers and fathers with children, youth that are seeking refuge. Imagine the trauma of being told that there is no safe place to go. That's why we see them. We see our people on the red line sleeping, on the buses sleeping, on the train sleeping, on the green line, on the blue line, because they don't have a safe place to go. And part of that is because we are on the economic bottom in this country and we are on the economic bottom in the city. Imagine those generational scars left on children who grow up watching abuse and losing their friends to gun violence, losing their brothers, their sisters, their cousins, and instability, and that replaces that feeling of love and security. As we continue to talk about entrepreneurship and the effect that it can have on the Black community, let's go deeper and dive into homelessness. There are over 40,000 homeless Black folk in Chicago. That means they don't have a stable housing. They could be sleeping under the viaducts. They could be sleeping on the trains, on the buses. They could be sleeping on someone's floor, sleeping on a couch, but they don't have stable housing. And among them are thousands of youth, some of them living doubled up with relatives, with their grandmas, with their aunts, their uncles, and their cousins. Some of them are sleeping in cars, and a lot of them are having to navigate shelters. Over 26,000 Chicago public school students are officially documented as homeless. That means entire classrooms full of children, entire classrooms full of our children are trying to focus on math problems, are trying to learn how to read while wondering where their next meal gonna come from and where they're gonna sleep at night. Now, all of this is not a silo unto itself. It's all an interconnected web. Gun violence, domestic violence, homelessness, poverty, all of these issues are not isolated. They are a web that is tightly woven together. Poverty feeds homelessness. Hopelessness, right? Poverty feeds homelessness. Because we just talked about the stats of homelessness, and it's real. We can go outside and we can see it. We talk about there's a new squatter rights bill that that gives the Chicago police the power to start arresting people who they prove that are squatters. That goes into effect January 1st. How many vacant houses or vacant buildings do you know that's taken over by our people who homeless and don't have nowhere to go? Where are the resources for them? We can find resources for everything else but for us. So when we talk about poverty feeds homelessness, poverty also feeds hopelessness, that loss of hope. And that loss of hope, that hopelessness, that despair feeds violence. Violence feeds trauma, and trauma feeds instability. And that instability, that trauma feed cycles that continue generation after generation and after generation. And that is how we have intergenerational trauma. And so if we're gonna break this cycle, we gotta offer more than slogans. We gotta say more than buying black. I remember we have a slogan that goes that's on shirts. And I believe Minister Joshua and Brother Will, here at Toma, we've seen it, we said it, buy black or die, right? And so we gotta give our youth tools and not just talks. How many times that when violence happens, someone goes and they're like, oh, they're gonna go talk to the youth and they're gonna do this and they're gonna do that. Those are just words. If you're just giving them words and not giving them tools, then how are you getting them out of despair? How are words gonna put a roof over their head? How are words gonna fill their empty bellies? How are words going to deal with the trauma of them seeing relatives killed, seeing family members killed, seeing peers killed, right? Seeing actual gun sales and drug sales and prostitution go on every day. They walk past it. They see it all day long. And so if we're not providing them tools and all we're doing is talking, that's not a solution. When Yeshua was out in the streets, was he just doing a lot of talking? Or was he giving people the tools for liberation? Was he giving people the tools to think critically? Was he giving people the tools to know, hey, this is who you are. This is who you are. That you're God's chosen people. That this planet was made for you. And no Pharaoh, no Rome should be oppressing you. Like, that's real. And we need to have these conversations. And we need to show them entrepreneurship can be something as small as, I said it before in the lecture, entrepreneurship can be something as small as setting up a hot dog stand. Entrepreneurship can be something as small as selling nachos. Entrepreneurship can be something small as designing t-shirts or designing clothes and selling them. Entrepreneurship can be something as small as cutting hair or the sisters doing wigs and braids and all these other things. Why? Because it starts out small and then it can grow. And truly, once they have that grasp of that business, of that entrepreneurship, and they have those skills, they can grow and expand those businesses. They can create new businesses because entrepreneurship is more than a business plan. It's more than a storefront. It's more than profits and losses. It's more than making money because at its core, entrepreneurship teaches life. And we need that in our community. We need that for our youth. It teaches critical thinking, how to identify problems and create solutions. How many times are we having conversations with folks and they can't critically think? They don't know how to identify a problem. They don't know how to create a solution. And you can't blame the youth because it is our fault, because we have allowed them to exist generation to generation to generation, being taught by a system that's designed to teach them to be laborers and to teach them to be under someone else. And if they don't do that, then what does it do? The same system that they go to 5 days a week pushes them to what? The cradle to prison pipeline. That is very real. And we got to own that. How are the same people that has designed a system to kill your children as the same people that you send your children to every day to get taught? To be taught the things that are already in them that just need to be pulled out of them. Entrepreneurship teaches resilience. It teaches them conflict resolution, how to face rejection and still try again. Entrepreneurship teaches discipline. It teaches how to budget and plan and also to remain accountable. And you know what else entrepreneurship teaches? It teaches responsibility, how to serve others and deliver value. Because what? If your service isn't good, you're going to lose customers. And by losing customers, you're going to lose money. And you're going to find real quick, fast, and in a hurry that if you don't deliver value to your customers as an entrepreneur, you're going to lose them. And you're going to be on this never-ending cycle because you're going to bring in new customers, but they're not going to stay because you're not providing value. And the most important thing that entrepreneurship teaches is dignity. It teaches that you can that you can earn money without having to exploit someone. What does the street economy teach our youth? That, oh, it's about me. Like, if I don't care who I step on, I don't care who I hurt, as long as I make mine, as long as I make my money. How many families are living off of that same mantra now? Like, oh, I don't care about nothing. As long as me and mine good, it's all right. But entrepreneurship teaches dignity, that you can earn money, that you can earn a living, that you can provide for your family, and you can prepare for your future without having to exploit your community, without having to exploit youth, without having to exploit anybody, that you can build without destroying. How important of a skill is that? How important of a value is that? That you can build without having to destroy anything. That you can rise without having to step on your brothers and sisters' back. When young people discover that they can transform an idea into an income stream, something powerful happens. Their minds begin to expand and their self-worth begins to solidify. They start to think of themselves not as liabilities, because we have a habit in our community of thinking of our children as liabilities, of thinking of the youth that walk our streets as liabilities, that we're afraid of them. You walk down the street and you're clutching your purses, or you're walking down the street and there's youth on the street and you cross the street. They're not liabilities. And we have to show them that they're not liabilities. They are leaders. They're not just the future, they're the present. And so when we look at entrepreneurship as a tool for violence prevention, as a tool to teach all of these skills that can help elevate our community, notice all those things I said: dignity, responsibility, discipline. All of those things are also what? They're also important when you're building a nation. When you're building a nation within a nation, they're important for building community, right? Those things are important for building family. How does your family look if you don't have no discipline? And don't nobody in your family have no discipline. Everybody in your family just buck wild out here. It is what it is. How does your family look when nobody in the family is responsible? When nobody wants to take responsibility for anything? We see it in our community. We see it in our schools. And what does a family look like when that family doesn't have any dignity? That family is just built off of exploitation after exploitation, with this mindset of you're going to step on anybody to get your next. We should be tired of this. We should be tired of looking at these babies' faces. We should be tired of looking at these mothers crying, at these fathers crying, at these grandmas and these grandpas crying because they're burying their children. No parent should ever have to bury a child. And so when we talk about entrepreneurship, all of these things is undeniable, because when you are engaged in a meaningful income producing activity, the likelihood of engaging in violence drops dramatically. We have proved it. When we were, years ago, Black Wall Street, we had a program called Yeti that was founded by Felicia Miller. Youth empowerment through entrepreneurship. This program was funded by State Representative LaShawn Ford, and it allowed us to hire 40 youth full-time for the summer. And for many of those youth, they were street involved. Many of those youth were experiencing extreme poverty. Some of them were homeless. Some of them will walk past. We were on 35th and King Drive. We had youth walking from Inglewood all the way to Bronzeville so that they could go to work because they couldn't afford bus fare. We had youth in the media. We had youth interning at nonprofits. We had youth learning how to design newspapers. We had youth learning marketing. We put all of these youth in different areas so that they had mentors who were teaching them entrepreneurship. Youth learned landscaping and snow removal and all of these other things so that they can experience, kind of like vocational schools, right? Where they can experience different skill sets so that they can decide what they wanted to do. And once you show youth that there is a way for them to earn legal money, that there is a way for them to earn enough money to take care of themselves, that's real. That's meaningful. And we proved that by hiring those street-involved youth during the summer full time, 40 hours a week, that it directly decreased violence. So when we look at, we know that even up to date, there are programs across the city. Like there's a program in North Lawndale called Ready Chicago. And youth who participate in that program, they were actually able to prove that it resulted in 50% fewer arrests for violent crime and a significant reduction in victimization. Why? Because hope was planted. Seeds of hope were planted in these youth where despair once ruled. And so entrepreneurship can replicate that effect on a much broader scale. Imagine a neighborhood, a community where instead of corners filled with idle youth because we don't have community centers, we don't have anywhere for them to go. And so they're hanging out where they are because there's nowhere for them to go. During the summertime, we had 90-degree temps. And where were youth? In the library. Why? They were in the park district. Why? Because that was the safe place that they can go. But when you have other communities who have actual community centers, why we don't have community centers? This is real. And these are real conversations that we have to have. Because think about, instead of these corners and all these places filled with idle youth, think about block markets where young people are selling baked goods, where they're fixing bicycles, they're designing clothing, they're coding websites, they're making bath and body products. Imagine families passing down not just trauma, but tax IDs, LLCs, and legacies. Imagine children bragging not about clique or gang affiliation, but about being the CEO of their first lemonade stand, their first baking company, their first beauty company, right? We have to look at family entrepreneurship as protection, because we have to understand that entrepreneurship strengthens families. For Black folk, having entrepreneurs in your family strengthens families. You always hear a lot from, we love the premise of, entrepreneurs who got it out the mud, right? Like we love the premise of, hearing from these entrepreneurs, and they talk about, they started their business because they wanted better for themselves. They wanted better for their families. Key families. They didn't want their children to have to get it out the mud. They didn't want their children to have to struggle to hustle, right? And so they started businesses, and they stuck to those businesses because they didn't want their children to go through all the things that they went through. Is that not family entrepreneurship as protection? Is that not family entrepreneurship strengthening families? Because a child who grows up helping at their parents' business learns not only skills, but identity, right? That, what do you do? I work with my father at his landscaping company, or I help my mother package orders for her bakery, becomes a badge of belonging and a shield against the lure of the street economy. When young people know that they are needed at home in the family business, they are less likely to be lured to the streets. And entrepreneurship is not just economics, it's also spiritual. Because when we teach you to build rather than break, to create rather than to consume, to stop being a generation of consumers, to stop being a cycle of consumers, generation to generation, we align them with the divine purpose. The act of entrepreneurship turns into an act of stewardship. It becomes an act of moral agency. It becomes a modern form of what our ancestors already knew. That work is worship when it serves God, family, and your community. S.B. Fuller once said that poverty is not about a lack of money, but a lack of understanding. The Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who we just observed International Marcus Garvey holiday last Sunday at 2057 West 68th Place in the West Englewood community of Chicago, Illinois, where we fed the community, where we fed the youth, where we had conversations with the community, and we talked about entrepreneurship. We talked about Black liberation. We talked about the tools that we need in order to get out of this never-ending cycle of violence and poverty in our communities. And so when we teach youth these skills, and when we're aligning them, we're realigning them with their divine purpose. We're realigning families with their divine purpose. We have got to understand that this is our assignment. Now, when we look at what I was going into, what the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey said, that Black skin is not a badge of shame, but rather a glorious symbol of national greatness. Dr. Claude Anderson reminds us that without an economic base, social justice is impossible. Without an economic base, social safety networks are impossible. How can you help somebody when you're hungry? How can you have somebody when you're homeless? We have got to focus on getting off the economic bottom in this country, and entrepreneurship and supporting and sustaining Black businesses is the blueprint for that. Dr. Webb Evans left the blueprint behind for us. You know, we already have the S.B. Fullers and the Dr. Claude Andersons. They've already left the blueprint behind for us. All we have to do is stop being hard-headed and stop being in our feelings and follow it. Look at Ken Bridges and how he built the Mata Network because he believed that Black people must control not just their labor, but their markets. All of these voices echo across time. And if we want to stop violence, we have got to teach our children how to build and how to own. Now, I know I went over a little bit. If you have enjoyed this lecture, and if you would like to hear more of this lecture on Wednesday, feel free to drop us a comment if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. If you would like more information about this lecture or any of our previous lectures, feel free to give us a call or shoot us a text at 773-846-3091. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday, September 7, 2025, for our lecture at Toma Nation. And, you know, we'll be outside again on the third Sunday of the month in West Englewood. So if you would like to see us live and in person, we invite you to come out with us. And so if you would like to RSVP to that event, shoot us a text at 773-846-3091. Thank you so much for joining us, Black family. See you next Sunday.
Service. We invite you and your family to join us live every Sunday at 6:16 Eastern Time from Facebook from 12. When you have heard, please feel free to support us with a monetary gift on Cash App at $TOMANATION. Once again, that's $TOMANATION. This will conclude our live stream. The message you have been listening to will continue live here at the Toma headquarters. We thank you, Black family. See you next Sunday. Black Power.
This is the eternal divine spirit, the one that causes all that exists to exist, the one that is self-existent.
How many men have children and the children never meet their father? See, you created a void in that child because you are a part of that child.